All right, let's talk about some common objections that you're going to run into. There are some leaders of the pack, and I've put this on social media before in question form to see, if other people are running into the same questions. And time again, there's the same popular ones that come up. There are, just as we spoke about earlier in the series, there are the triggers in people's minds that they automatically say things, right? I think I referenced the car salesman that comes out to the parking lot and the person says, just looking around, or just browsing, or whatever that automatic reaction, you don't even have to think about it, is. In our world, especially on the phone, I don't know that I see this too much in person because you're going to be at people's houses, but on the phone you'll get a lot of, I need to talk to my spouse first, or I need to talk to my sibling. In some cases, we are looking at inherited houses, probates, things like that. You might have different family members involved, which is fine. What I like to do is try and get ahead of those specific objections first. That way they don't appear later. If you're on the phone per se, and there's a spouse involved, we want to get to that early, right? When we're setting up the frame in video number 1 for the framework, is to ask, is anybody else going to be involved in the decision here? You stated you might be interested in selling 123 Main Street. Is this somewhere that you live currently, or do you rent out? Let's find out if it's their personal property or not. And past that, once we get that answered, it doesn't matter if it's their personal property or not. We want to know who else is involved in the decision. If we're able to make an offer that makes sense to you today, is there anybody else that we would need to consult or get approval from before you were able to actually tell me yes and move forward? That's what I want to know. If they say yes, my wife, or yes, my husband, or yes, my brother, or my sister, it doesn't matter, whoever they say. Right there and then, I want to see if it's possible to talk to them too. Would it make sense to get them on the phone? Would it make sense then? And I'll say this on a phone call to somebody I'm making an in-person appointment to. Would it make sense to invite them in then? Maybe we can meet on a day where we're all available. And then you get all the decision makers together in one place. It's not always going to be the case where you go through a conversation where they're all there. In some cases, they may say no, and at the end of the call, they bring that objection back up anyway. But we're trying to get ahead of these objections as much as we can. But let's assume that we've done our homework. We've asked the questions about certain things we know come up on a regular basis. We try to get out ahead of it. That way we prevent the objection rather than solve the objection at the end. But some of the ones that do come up is I need to think about it. That's in any industry. You just can't run away from that one, right? But there are ways to question around that to see if we can still solve the problem. And I'll give you an example of something that happened to me when I first started out, that kind of a light bulb went off in my head when I realized that, one, that's a triggered response. And sometimes the need to think about it, we always assume is monetary. In this case, it wasn't. So I'll give you that example. The way we want to respond to it, first off, is to say, hey, I made you the offer, do you feel like that's something that would be able to help you out? Possibly, but I just need some time to think about it. So your response should be, instead of saying, okay, when would you like me to follow up with you next? Let's see if we can solve the problem right now. It's totally fair. A lot of people tell me they need to think about it, so I understand. What part specifically do you feel like you need more clarity on before you're making a decision? And that question right there could have some people say, well, the price is a little lower than I expected. You might get the price objection. Or in this specific case I was referencing, the objection was, to us it's going to sound ridiculous, to them it doesn't. Everything that they're doing is pressure, right? It's pressure. It's a big decision. It's emotional. So in this lady's case, I said that I completely understand you wanting to think about it. This is a decision that you don't make every day. What is it specifically that you need more clarity on before deciding whether this is right for you or not? And she said, I've been here for so many years. I just don't know how I'm going to get all this stuff out of the house. And I said, do you feel like it would help you out if I told you that you could take what you want out of the house and leave what you don't, and you don't have to worry about cleaning that stuff out at all? And her shoulders dropped and she was like, would you do that? I said, we do that for everybody. We just assume that we're cleaning out the house anyway, right? So if it's truly something that you don't want or don't need anymore, and it's stressing you out to be able to get rid of that stuff, let us take that stress on. You just worry about your next step where you said you wanted to go. We're going to be able to get you there. So you just worry about your next step, and you take whatever you need and want out of this house and leave the rest for us to worry about. You shouldn't have any more stress from here to the closing table. And that's our goal. And that closed that day because her only objection was, how am I going to get a moving truck in here? How am I going to get a dumpster in here? She lived alone. She was in her 70s. How am I going to clean all this stuff out? She was there for like 50 something years. So the objection could be small to us, huge to them. So keep that in the back of your mind. But that's a great way to bridge that question and to get some true answers at the end of it, instead of just leaving it at, I need to think about it. Say, great, I'll let you think about it. I'll call you back in a day or two. Don't do that. Ask the follow-up question, and then if need be after that, then you can leave and have follow-up calls after that. That's fine. But you want to make sure, like I said in the beginning of this whole series, if you walk away with a no or you walk away without a contract signed, you should feel good that you did everything you can to get that contract signed. And in cases like this, where they said they need to think about it, and they truly do have to think about it for one reason or another, because that follow-up question should surface that answer. And if the answer is legit and you say, you know what, that does make sense, you should think about this for this reason or this reason, let them do that, but make sure you set up the follow-up call maybe the next day or whatever makes sense for that specific situation. So I hope that makes sense, because we're really just trying to get past those surface level answers in all cases, even when it comes down to the close. So there's 4 steps to this objection process that we want to do. We want to acknowledge whatever objection comes to the surface, which is what we did. Totally fair. I completely understand that you want to think about this. The next step would be clarify. Ask a question to understand, which we did. What part do you need more clarity on? The third step would be to reframe it. That's when I gave her another option. And then confirm after that. If we were to do this, do you feel like that would be the right solution for you? And in that case, it was a yes. So acknowledge, clarify, reframe, and confirm. All right. So that's it for the objection examples. If you need anything else outside of this, obviously post it in the group. There's going to be a ton of more objections that are sitting out there that I can't get to in this video, but just giving the example and the framework. If you plug and play any objection into that, you should be able to have those follow-up questions with pretty much any objection that's thrown in front of you. But like I said, if you need specific help, post a question in the group, and I'm happy to help you out with your problem specifically.